Hello, welcome back to Exposure Ninja Podcast Extra with myself, Jess Percival, the wonderful Tim Cameron Kitchen, and the fabulous Nick Tuxford. Nick, your name totally went out of my brain there and I panicked. Nick is joining us today to talk about PPC, as she is our head of PPC at Exposure Ninja. Welcome to the podcast, both of you.
Thank you.
It's very exciting to have you here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Nick's been in all sorts of areas of Exposure Ninja. So Exposure Ninja, I've caught whatever you've got, Jess. So I feel like, Nick's a very great all-round marketer, and her sort of recent foray into PPC has been, it's amazing to see her bring her expertise into a new area. So loving this and looking forward to today.
Yeah, hope you're looking forward to it as well, Nick. And of course, as always, if you're listening to this podcast live and you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments on YouTube or LinkedIn or wherever you're watching. We'll be able to see them all. So I think we're going to start by talking about Performance Max, which is an element of Google Ads that kind of came in this year. And I think people are a little bit wary of it, because it seems to take the reins a lot, but also you have to set it up right to be able to get it to work. We'll probably end up calling it PMax for most of this call, by the way, because Performance Max is a bit of a mouthful. Nick, I would love to know just some of your thoughts about Performance Max. What's so good about it? What kind of reservations do people have and yourself have? Just share a bit of info. We'd love to know.
Yeah, so Performance Max, we've been using Exposure Ninja for quite a while now. I think that from our perspective, what we've found with Performance Max is that you can really work the machine learning for your own benefit. And there is the time saving element, which is great because it allows you to focus on other things. But it's also a way for you to do a full funnel marketing campaign in Google, which is just fantastic. And it's an easy way for you to do a full funnel marketing campaign in Google, where you're not worrying, okay, is my YouTube messaging aligned with my search messaging? Are my shopping ads promoting the right thing that, I want to show people? You can just do it all in one place. You can do it all to the right audiences, and you can set up different audiences that you can work with. So it's just a really, really fantastic way to do that. Now, there are challenges. So there is not a lot of data. It's getting better, and I imagine that Google is going to continue to make it better and give a bit more control to the user. But you have to be really smart when you're using it. So it's not really just something you can turn on and off. And I think that it can be tempting for people to think, oh, because it's automated, I can just switch it on and leave it. And I think that's a really, really good way to spend a lot of money without knowing. It's like setting up the automatic subscription for something that you haven't used in 3 years. So you have to be patient, and you have to really be observant with it.
Yeah, I've noticed there's quite a big it feels like it's quite a big learning curve. What would you say is the main differences between PMax? Would you say it's because you're not doing that kind of laser targeting and you do sort of have to leave it up to PMax a little bit? What are you sort of finding with it?
Yeah, so when I think the first time I looked in a PMax campaign, I was really freaked out by the lack of information there. So I was used to being able to drill down into every single keyword and look at how everything was performing, look at all of the ad copy, and just the interface is different. And the way you look at it, and at first glance, you think, God, there's nothing here. How am I supposed to audit this? How am I supposed to control this? But then when you start to delve into it and you start exploring things, the features in there are some really unique and interesting features. So, for example, there's this great little thing called the customer acquisition feature. And that particular feature is just sat there in the settings. It's probably something that you might not notice, but that allows you to determine whether you're only going to target new customers, whether you're going to target new and existing customers and you're going to prefer one over the other, or whether, you're just going to do everything the same and you're just going to target everyone in exactly the same way. And so it's a really good way for marketers to think about their business and to think about who they want to attract to their business at any given point. If you're, for example, somebody who has a lot of repeat buying, then you don't want to be only targeting new customers. But if you're a one-off service, there is absolutely no need to be targeting people who've already purchased from you because they've already got what you've offered. So things like that really help you to get the best out of the Performance Max campaigns.
Yeah, that's really important. Sorry, Tim. Looks like you had a really important thought just then.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think one of the dangers of something like PMAX, when people have the option to just sort of set and forget it, is that they don't take the time to realize that the time that has been freed up by having to do some of this stuff should be spent on thinking more strategically and big picture. So obviously you're managing the pay-per-click team here at EN that work on PMAX campaigns. How do you think PPC managers' priorities, what will they be spending more time on now that PMAX is taking care of some of the sort of basic groundwork?
So I'd say, first of all, amazing creatives. So you want to be investing your time in getting great video, because if you think you can use the PMAX videos and get conversions, you are sadly mistaken. They definitely don't come out well. So invest some time, invest some money in some really great video content, get some really good digital assets out there. So some amazing imagery that you can use in the display side of the campaigns. Use that time to make sure that your merchant feed is up to date, because you need it to be up to date. And you'd be amazed at how many people do not update that. So certainly doing that, but then also as well, really learning about your customer. Look at the things like the audience signals that are coming through. So for example, I saw one recently for a cosmetic surgery campaign, and one of the audience signals that was getting really high clicks was for people who like to go out and spend a lot of money on like restaurants, nightlife and stuff like that. And so you could utilize that information to set up a new asset group, and Google will tell you don't need to use this information. Don't worry about it. We already optimized for this. That's fine. But actually use that information in your creatives. So create a video that speaks to that audience, create images that speak to that audience, and use that to really set yourself apart, because everyone else is reading that. Don't worry about it. We've already made this observation, and they're going, great, I can sit back and relax. But actually don't sit back and relax. Use that and create.
Yeah, I think that's super important. I've seen, we made some beautiful video ads for a client who sells highly durable sofas, basically, especially for people who own pets. And these video ads, even though they're user generated, some of them, because they show some animals interacting with the sofas and they're kind of answering a pain point that people would have, well, is this as good as it says? They're super, super useful. And I believe we were running them on PMAX, weren't we?
I believe we have done. And yeah, we've had some real fun with YouTube videos. I mean, it's a really fun thing to do. I love doing briefs for videos, although I don't design them myself, sadly. I've not got that talent. Briefing a video is really interesting because you get in the head of the target audience and you're speaking to them. We've probably all seen that television ad that just sticks in our head. Like I have one about a dog that grabs some sausages from a barbecue and runs off. I could watch that advert for days and days and days. And getting that kind of advert that speaks to that person who loves to look at dogs running away with sausages. It's just really fun, isn't it? It's just a great way of spending your time. So I think, for me, it's like, well, enjoy that, that lighter side of marketing, and let heat max deal with the drier elements, the stuff that, you know, you go zombie-eyed with.
Absolutely love that. I think Tim's got a question that he
Yeah,
wants to answer.
the Tuesday Club has asked on YouTube, my business is a bit dry, packing supplies. How can I make video ads not only exciting, but convert well? We love dry/boring businesses at EN. So, but how can this person make their ads exciting to watch and convert well, Nick?
Well, I would start by doing a bit of research on YouTube and think outside of the box. So and that was no pun intended, I apologize. What do people look at and view? And so you might be looking at it and thinking, okay, well, how can I make boxes exciting? You'd be amazed at the amount of people that stare at people unboxing things. You know, have a pass the parcel packaging supply video where you've got great little boxes inside each other, and make it ASMR. Do things that people bizarrely or not bizarrely enjoy watching. You know, what's in the box type ads, where you've got something that is in the box that people are going to keep watching to find out what is in the box. And it could be anything, you know, it could be like a stick of chewing gum, but people will watch just to find out what is in that box, something that will make people want to find out what's going to happen, or something that will make people talk, you know, or comment or engage with the ad. But even if, you know, the product is dry, you can find a topic that's not dry. Yeah. We see it with retailers, don't we? You know, they don't necessarily promote a product, they promote themselves. And, you know, when you look at the John Lewis Christmas ad, for example, and how excited people get over it, and it's a department store. It's a department store that's been around forever. And we wait with bated breath for this Christmas ad, because it's just like, what are they going to do? And the Christmas ad isn't even really about John Lewis, is it?
No,
You know,
not at all.
Once, didn't they? So
I thought of that one earlier when you said you loved an advert with a dog, and I was like, yes.
There's a dog theme to my ad. Enjoy.
There is, apparently. I did think about in terms of your ads and this creative. I know we're sort of sticking on this creative thing, but I think it is so important. I think people are really so quick to set and forget. The amount of adverts I get on Instagram stories that are just text. And I'm like, you've got a whole screen of video. You have the opportunity to take up the entirety of my phone screen during the 6 hours a day I spend flicking through people's mundane Instagram stories. You know, why are you not using that to your full potential? Or they'll be poorly cropped, or there's all these things. So that's why we're sticking on it so long. And sort of talking of kind of dry products or things that really solve an issue, even if it's simple. I think a massive issue, particularly in, let's say, packaging supplies, like the example here, is people are worried about how good the quality is, right? They want to see that their stuff's going to get there on time. So that's exactly what you can show, not on time, even get there safely. And that's exactly what you can show. There's a phone case company who are always throwing phones off of buildings and stuff. I think they're called Mouse. Yeah. And I know Casetify do it with their influencers. They tell the influencers to throw these things, and you could literally put something inside your packaging, throw it down the stairs. There's a trend at the moment of rolling bottles downstairs to see how long it takes before the bottle breaks. Okay. There's a trend for everything. And if you can kind of find your way into those trends, I know the same person has asked, like, how do I find those types of video creators? And it really is about going on those platforms and watching video. If, you know, you find out, maybe not in your case, but you might find out that your audience is on TikTok, you can genuinely sit and scroll on TikTok and it will bring videos to you. You know, same with Instagram Reels, same with YouTube Shorts. In terms of finding creators on other places, for instance, like YouTube, to find inspiration, you literally could just type in your keywords, no matter what your business is, and you'll be able to find something. Like, when I say no matter what your business is, let me be clear. I spend every night at the moment watching some guy trim cows' hooves. There is a niche everywhere. Okay. People will watch those videos and it might not even be your target audience, but getting it in front of those people then gets it in front of other people. You know, this guy sells a course, he promotes products in his videos. You know, there's possibilities are endless for any type of business, even if you're B2B, because there's still people in that business who are finding your thing and connecting with you.
And it's not just video as well. You can take inspiration from text posts. So, for example, for B2B, I know LinkedIn is a huge platform. So what are people talking about on LinkedIn, and how can you jump on that in a video? How can you show that in video content as well? There are some people who write significant amounts of text in a LinkedIn post, and I think you could take a lot from some of those. Look at the engagement on the post, which ones, you know, are people engaging with and why. Look at your own industry, what's being engaged with in your own industry, and take from that what you can and make a script. And you know, scripts are like anything. You can draft them, you can look at them and you can think, no, that's rubbish, and you can go back and redraft. And until you get what you want, ask a friend, does this look good? Does this look sensible? You know, and they'll tell you.
Yeah, definitely.
Nick, just going back to PMAX, which I think is where we originally started this. And we've had, I think, a variation of the same question a couple of times on YouTube. What sort of businesses is PMAX? What sort of size businesses is PMAX? And then a long-time listener, Ron, who, by the way, Ron, we've got some very good news about some SGE tests that we've been running for you. 3 out of 3. More info to come later. But Ron says, patience needed for PMAX campaigns, even with good images and videos, several weeks before the algorithm starts producing steady conversions. Maybe you could talk a bit about that process, sort of minimum ad spend requirements, and how that has an impact on like timelines.
Yeah, so PMAX can't be run on a small budget. You're not going to get great results with sort of a, you know, £10 a day type budget. I'd be aiming for, you know, 50, 100 pounds per day. You need to be happy to have Google go a bit wild for about 6 weeks. You need to be brave. You need to, you know, that this is like the wild stock market of ads. You will see impressions suddenly peak and then drop and then, you know, mess around, the old conversion here. And what Google PMAX is doing is it's testing, it's constantly testing for you. What does your audience like? You know, how are we going to get people to buy it? And to do this, it has to show your ads to people that don't buy as well, because it needs to know what doesn't work. So if you're not willing to take that time, or if you can't afford to take that time, then I wouldn't use PMAX. I would go with a very straightforward search campaign that you've got a lot of control over, and you can really hone in on your negative keywords. But what I will say is, if you're willing to make that investment, it will pay off. It will really pay off. It's just, yes, about the patience, about being able to sit back and look at it and think, okay, right. As long as you're monitoring it and you keep observing it and you keep taking notes. Actually, a member of my team joked about having a little notebook. You're just jotting things down in every day, because, you know, there is that much learning in there, you know, looking at different things and as you go along, and then use that information.
I guess you got the sort of emotional roller coaster, excitement at the start, and then terror, and then, oh, have I made a mistake? And oh, it looks good, and oh.
Yeah, and different things as well can completely change it. So we have one campaign and it would not spend the budget, and we were like, oh my goodness, why isn't it spending the budget? And, you know, the specialist working on it was, you know, changing the ROAS cap, was, you know, looking at different elements, and in the end we just tweaked the customer acquisition settings. And we said, let's test it. Let's see what happens. It went wild a bit for a few days. You know, impressions went up and conversion rate went down and everything. And then it's just settled and it's spending again. And it's, you know, and it's moving forward really well. And yet previously that setting was working. The previous setting was working, and it was working fine until we upped the budget. And then we had to review it. So you have to keep thinking, okay, every change I make can have a knock-on effect. So I need to keep looking, keep learning, and keep testing.
This
That's
is a really
amazing.
great example of how AI needs experts to guide it, because according to the PMax AI, you didn't need to spend money and you didn't need to do anything with your ads, whereas actually there was an untapped market there that just meant changing one setting. So never rely fully just on PMax alone. Make sure that you're checking things, which gives me a nice segue to talk a little bit about the search generative experience, because Tim, you are a big pro search generative experience person, or you just love to learn about it, you love to do some research, you love to find stuff out about it. Now, I don't think there are ads actually running in sort of the test version of SGE, which, by the way, for those who don't know, this is the search generative experience, if you can pronounce words properly, unlike me, that produces an AI generated answer when you ask a question. It appears in a box at the top and it's more tailored, and Google have said that there will be ads in there, and we've seen some examples of this, so it won't technically be fully AI generated. There's got to be some elements in there that are going to be us generated if it's PPC. But I feel like Tim's shaking his head, and I feel like you have some opinions, Tim.
I've always got opinions. Nothing controversial about this, though. like you say, Google is testing ads, and it will test ads. Search ads are $162 billion of its annual revenue, so it's not going to leave ads out of an SGE generated or a search results page with ads. We've seen a few different tests from Google so far. So when they announced SG back in May, they showed some examples. They immediately put out a blog saying, reassuring advertisers, don't worry, the ads aren't going anywhere. And they've basically brought people out in every SG presentation since to sort of reassure advertisers that ads aren't going anywhere. When they first launched it, they would show, they did some screenshots where they showed shopping ads above the SG results. They showed another screenshot of mobile with shopping ads below the SG result. We've also seen them run some ads where sometimes you get actual product listings inside the SG results. So if you search for, I don't know, best cardboard boxes for packaging rhino heads or something, then they would show products, and then they've shown some of those product listings being sponsored. Then last week, someone spotted them with showing an ad for sponsored content in the SG results. So this wasn't necessarily an ad for a product. This was an informational page, which was probably affiliate driven because it was like product reviews. And Google showed that inside the SG result. Now, I've not seen that one before. That one could be really interesting because, for example, if you're targeting a keyword like, best packaging manufacturers, and SG gives you an answer, and then at the bottom there's a little sponsored link and it says you might find this useful, and there's an article like comparing the best packaging companies or things to look out for when you're buying packaging. That could be a really interesting approach for advertisers to take, because we could advertise informational pages that had a bit of commercial intent into these informational SG searches. So we don't yet know exactly what SG is going to look like. I don't think that Google has, we don't know what advertising in SG is going to look like. I don't think Google has found a winning offering, which is why we are not consistently seeing ads in SGE, but they will. And I think once they do, that's when we'll see them roll out SGE, because I think that advertising revenue is too important for them to roll out a big change like this without some sort of ad product in there.
Yeah. We've seen these kind of interesting sponsored kind of ads splattered in different formats in Google. So the one that springs to mind is I can never remember what they changed it to. I think it used to be called Google Now, or it's the little app that you can get on your phone, which gives you a feed of different news articles that you are particularly interested in. And you'll find ads in there. And the ads are so relevant. You will think they are news feeds that you enjoy. And the amount of times I have clicked on those ads, not even realizing it was an ad. And I'm somebody who works in ads. But they are so good because they are so relevant. So I can see that level of learning definitely feeding into SGE.
One of the things I've noticed, Nick, is that in a lot of the ad SGE announcements from Google, they'll mention PMAX and they'll use it as an opportunity to highlight PMAX. Do you think PMAX as an ad product is really well suited to this type of thing because it allows Google to test different display options for certain ads, and like you're saying, it can target you in the Discover feed as well?
Yeah, so it covers everything, doesn't it, PMAX? So it is going to be something that would work well with SGE. And I think depending on where SGE goes in terms of what it's going to display and how unified it's going to make things, how much attention it's going to put towards video, for example, it can fit in with that. The only thing that I would maybe be skeptical about is how much kind of informational content we can pull from SGE into ads, and how we move towards more of the top of the funnel stuff. Because I can see exactly I say exactly, I'm not psychic or anything, but I can envision what that platform would look like for commercial and for as we get down ready to convert. But when we get towards brand awareness, I'm thinking, okay, how are they going to support marketers who are promoting at that scale? And that probably does lead me to think, okay, video, maybe we're going to move more towards video for informational content, and we're going to be using that display. Yes, possibly. Again, it's perhaps not going to be as valuable for an informational standpoint, but we see when we think about Amazon, for example, you buy something and then it gives you these recommendations underneath, and that you are just looking at an image of a product that you can click on. So why wouldn't Google start doing that? Why wouldn't Google start going, oh, you searched for this and that and this? I'm pretty sure you're going to like this too.
Yeah.
So, I probably kind of answered your question plus that.
Yeah. Well, but I think some of the examples that Google has shown of ads in SG are sort of exactly what you're saying, where someone has been searching for something, they've been a bit top of funnel, and SG's been able to predict that, all right, they're now approaching a stage where they might be ready to make a purchase. There was one example where someone was having a conversation with it about learning to surf in Maui, and is it easy for kids to learn to surf? And then it surfaced an ad which was like surf lessons. Yeah. So it sort of recognized that, okay, this person is now approaching conversion point, even though they hadn't searched for surf lessons Maui. We're able to target them. Maybe they wouldn't have run an ad for, is it easy to teach kids to surf? But because they knew that the person had already been on that journey, they could surface that ad because it looked like they're about to make a purchase.
What's interesting as well is that this potentially helps us with retaining data privacy as well for people. GDPR, data privacy, cookies, and whether they're going to be gone is something that really does scare paid ads marketers. And so with SGE, we're actually just being fed the information in real time. So, we're getting this first party data, and we're able to use that to then advertise to people. And I think that is going to be something that's going to be really valuable for PPC, because we are removing an obstacle as such, and we're getting the user to remove the obstacle, and it still puts the choice in the user's hands. They can choose how much information they're going to give SGE, and they'll get back what they give in. So we'll be able to advertise without holding people's data that they don't want to give us.
Yeah,
and Google wins. Why does Google always win? Google wins, lawyers always win. That's just the rule, isn't it? Whatever happens, Google wins more.
I mean, marketing's been around for years and years and years, and I can't see it ever going away now. So.
No, not at all. Not at all. We're a bit short on time, but we did have one question which I thought kind of ends things quite nicely, which was about, this question specifically was, can I use PPC for industrial fasteners? But I think it opens up a wider question of, really, is there any businesses that can't use PPC, or is it just the way that they do PPC that's important?
Well, the tobacco industry can't use PPC, as a number of other industries can't use PPC. So if you are interested in whether you legally can use PPC, Google has some really great resources about that. But if you can use PPC, then yes. What I would do is look at, first of all, I think I would look at search, and particularly if you're new to PPC, start with search. Look at what the keywords cost. Look at your website and consider whether your website really tells people that you are offering these keywords. And are the keywords going to be affordable for you? Are they going to be profitable for you? So you need to really understand, okay, how do I calculate my profit margin? How do I deduct the ad cost from my profit margin? So we have like a very in-depth calculator that we use where we determine whether an ad can make a return on investment. If you're not using a marketing agency, then you'd look at return on ad spend, because obviously you've not got to think about agency fees. That being said, I think you probably would perform better if you used an agency, because you're getting someone who's dedicated to it. But of course, you do have to account for that. If you've got a good agency like Exposure Ninja, they'll do that for you. So they'll tell you, this isn't going to be profitable for you to run with us, because we don't want to rip people off. We don't want to lose people money. That gives us a bad reputation. If you have an agency that doesn't tell you that, then work it out yourself. So make sure that you've deducted your management fees, make sure you've deducted your investments, your marketing investment, the ads payments, and make sure that you are using the correct profit margin. And if you are a lead gen company, make sure that you are estimating very accurately your lead to sale conversion rate as well. You need to keep an eye on your on-site conversion rate as well. So your website conversion rate, you need to make sure that that's as high as possible. So sometimes before we do PPC, we tell people that they need to do CRO on their website. Sometimes we also ask them to do SEO work on their website because, of course, your on-site optimization can affect your quality score because your website needs to be relevant for the right keywords. Otherwise, Google will think that you're bidding on irrelevant terms, and you'll end up having to pay a lot more for something that somebody else is getting cheaper. Look at your competitors. So there are plenty of tools that you can use where you can see competitor ad spend. You can also use Google's free tool where you can actually see competitors' ads. I don't have the link to that at the moment. Actually, I should have prepared the link to that. But I think if you Google Ads display, you'd be able to find it. So it shows you exactly what your competitors are doing. So you can see whether they are promoting your offering. Search your own keywords as well in Google. See if that's being advertised for. If lots of people are advertising for it, it means it's going to be doing well for them. So there's so many ways that you can check without sort of jumping in the deep end and kind of spending a lot of money and not getting anything back. But definitely keep an eye on your figures.
Yeah, great answer. Thank you so much, Nick. Tim, do you have anything to add before we wrap up?
No, request your free website and marketing review if you want PPC monsters like Nick working on your campaign.
Indeed, absolutely. We do love it. We do love a bit of PPC.
Absolutely.
So we'll be happy to have a look at that for you. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you so much, Nick, for hanging out with us today. And we'll see everybody next week.
Yeah.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye. Go next.